Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and it's time to show off my amazing new deck that I've been talking up on Twitter pretty much all day, and beating people on X-Mage with it all day. So, Tokens and Friends is just too weak. I should have went all-in Tokens and went Anointed, but so many other people are doing that. That kind of is like a popular deck right now, so it's like, oh, do I just play that? No, I want to come up with something new, obviously. This is me we're talking about. So, this is what I came up with, and it's really messed up, and it's very twisted, very evil. Your opponents are going to hate it. And about, I don't know, 60 to 70, maybe even 75% of the games where I won, it's because the opponent conceded. They just couldn't handle certain cards in this deck. And you're going to see why real shortly. So the other thing is I marked this as a budget deck. You can get this deck built for 20 to 25 bucks if you just take out a couple really expensive cards. So the vast majority of it is virtually worthless. And then there's a couple cards that just drive it way up, and even I'm not going to put them in when I build this for FNM, so don't worry about it. I'll try and shout out what the numbers are, but like if you built this as is, it's approaching $90 to $100, so yikes. But the other thing is, you might have Botanical Sanctums by now, but otherwise you can put in the clone of them, no problem. So it's got islands and forests, about 50-50, because you do need a lot of double blue, there's more green, whatever, so real simple. I think there might be one more forest. And there's 2 painted bluffs because you're going to have so many late game lands and mana sources that you might as well just filter them if you need a color. And at that point, you should be fixed. So it's like, this is like very specific mid game. I just felt like I shouldn't put in another island, another forest as like an emergency out. And I've used it. And then we got botanicals, which are 12 bucks a piece. It's like 48 bucks in right there. So if you have them, great. If you don't, put in the version of it that comes in tapped, because, I mean, it says it enters tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands. This is like almost a land dump deck, so this is going to come in tapped 95% of the time, so you might as well just play the 25-cent version of this that comes in tapped. It's just the dummy land. It's literally just like a, what do they call it, a tap land? It's one that comes with the welcome deck. There's like 4 versions of it that are legal right now. I don't know. That's what I'm going to be playing. I don't own any botanicals, because I just buy listed them last week. So then let's move on to Nissa. She's like $6-7 bucks a piece, so that kind of sucks. Might be able to trade for her. Not many people playing her. She's not at all crucial to the deck. She is by far the least important card to the deck, and the second least important is Rashmi. So everything else you absolutely need, and this is the one card that you don't. It's just kind of nice. It's got an X. It's a way to spend stuff. It's a cool turn 3 if you got, you know, absolute garbage in your hand. And like her ult isn't even that good. Her 0 is unreliable and unpredictable, and Scry 2 is Scry 2. I mean, whatever, you know. So feel free to take her out. So if you take her and Botanical out, the whole rest of the deck is about 20 bucks. So yeah, so don't call it not a budget deck. So then we got, well, Nissa, I should probably say what she does. I think I just did. Scry 2, 0, you can free cast something, maybe you're getting extra land, cool. And then her -6, you get 2 giant flying 5/5 elementals, so pretty much 10 damage to their face, or it's another Planeswalker assassin. So yeah, I mean, she's good. She's just not that good. But like I said, you get her out turn 3 for 1, and it's actually not bad. You can guarantee that you get up to the higher land levels then. Then we got Merfolk Branchwalker, because this is a partial Explorer deck. Now, this started out as 100% Explorer with Explorer triggers, but it was too weak, so then I made it into this atrocity. But Explorer is like, okay, I have a 3/2 for 2 on turn 2 in a mana ramp deck. Like, that's scary. Like, they can't swing against a 3/2 until a couple turns later in most cases. And if they're dumb enough to waste like a removal spell on this, then they are in for a rude awakening in a couple turns, because that would be the definition of wasting a removal spell, trust me. But otherwise, yeah, if they're running a slow deck or some kind of control thing and you go first, what are they going to do? Cast Essence Scatter with 1 island on the field? So you drop this in, and whether it's a 2/1 and then you get another land in your hand, or it's a 3/2 and you get a bad card over the way, or leave it on top of the library. Either way, Explorer is just good. It is just a good mechanic. So keep in mind, though, it is unreliable mana ramp, because only 1 in 3 cards in your deck are land. So if you flip up the top card, you only have about a 33% chance, give or take, of it being a land. So next up, we got Entrancing Melody. Gain control of target creature with converted mana cost X. Tokens are 0, by the way, so you can legitimately steal them for 2. That's fun. And yeah, you gain control of it forever. So you just take it. And this whole deck, I would describe it as like it ramps up really quickly to some very dangerous, very good cards. But instead of control, pin down, removal, it also takes your opponent's best cards. So like, what are you going to do against that? I mean, I've only really lost to like Fumigate, and I mean, even -1 counters didn't beat this deck. Dinosaurs didn't beat it because I just stole their dinosaurs. Like, I can't really think of anything that consistently beats this other than Red Rush, and that you could just sideboard. You could just put in like some cheapo little Death Touchers or something, or Essence Scatter, Bounce, I don't know, whatever. Channeler Initiate, this one's fun. That's, you know, any color. It gradually gets up to be a 3/4, and then if you really need a 3/4, you just nuke something else, and ta-da. So it's just a good all-around card, and these are still like 75 cents. I think they'd probably be $3 if they weren't in the Planeswalker decks. So we lucked out on that one. Next up, the #1 most unappreciated card in all of Ixalan, Ranging Raptors. Okay, in Rage, go get a land from your deck and drop it onto the battlefield. Tapped, but still. It's a 2/3 for 2, so that's already, you know, it's decent. I mean, you're not going to deal damage with it. But within Rage, it could honestly be a 1/5. It could be a 0/6 and I'd be happy. You know, it's all about taking damage. Although 0/6, if I swung with it, they would just let it through. So 2/3 is actually appropriate, because they can't just be taking 2 damage over and over and over. But if they block it, they better hope that they actually destroy it. Because if they don't, I'm going to get a land multiple times, and then this, when it hits the battlefield, can stop them single-handedly from swinging against you, because you're going to go get land after land after land. So this is kind of like, what is that, Blistering Pod or whatever? Blister Pod? You know, where it like generates a Scion when it gets destroyed? I don't know. It just reminds me of that, because it's like, oh, I blocked once, it got destroyed. Cool, I get a land. You know, except a Scion wasn't a land, so this is like better. But it costs 3. But still, I mean, this is so underappreciated. You can just straight up go get a land over and over and over, and soon you got 8 lands on the battlefield. Then we got, I don't know, an alternate method of kind of doing that, Weaver of Currents. It taps for 2. So turn 3, you drop it out, you got 5 mana the next turn. Maybe 6 if you pull another land. I mean, that just speaks for itself. Then we got Rashmi, Eternities Crafter, another very underappreciated card. It's a little sketchy, it's a little unreliable, but it's fun. Like, you mix all this unreliable crap together, like Nissa and Rashmi and, you know, Explore, and eventually something good's gonna happen. So, unless you're the unluckiest person ever. So whenever you cast your first spell each turn, reveal the top card of your library with, you know, with all this scrying crap, you might know what it is. If it's a non-land card with converted mana cost less than the one you just cast, you may cast it without paying its mana cost, and we got 5 and 6 costs in here. And X does count. It shouldn't, in my opinion, but it does for some reason. I guess it's the spell is currently on the stack when this ability goes off, so if you test the converted mana cost of the spell, not the card, then it is higher because it hasn't left the stack. So I guess, I mean, that does make sense. So if you cast Nissa for like 9, pretty much whatever you draw is going straight onto the battlefield, even if it's a Majestic. Or a River's Rebuke. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a creature, I think. Yeah, non-land card. Just any non-land card, you cast it. But there's only 2 because she's legendary, she's not very good at combat, and you don't really need free spells because you can cast them. But it's like bonus card draw with free spells. So, you know, it's just good. I just threw her in. She is absolutely amazing. I would leave it at 2, and I'd leave her in the deck. Then we got Emperor's Vanguard. This guy's pretty cool. Every time I see that card artwork, I feel like I should not litter. If you're really old, you got that joke. Also, I don't litter. So he's just a 4/3, and every time he deals combat damage to a player, he explores. So he's swinging. They don't really want to get hit by a 4/3, but they don't really want to block it. And then if they don't block it, then you're going to explore. So then he could get a counter on himself in all likelihood. It's kind of like a partial scry, because if you don't want the card, you put it in the graveyard. And then it's also ramp because he puts a counter on himself, but then it's also mana ramp. So it's like, it's just good. I mean, this guy, repeated exploration is so good. I mean, he is one of the better cards in Ixalan right now. And actually, I think he might be $1.50. So people appreciate him a little bit, but there's only 2 because this needs some cheap stuff. I am so sick of building decks where if you don't get to 3 mana or 4 mana within a reasonable amount of time, Like if you get stuck at 2, you just auto lose. I am not a fan of that, which is why there's channelers and Merfolk. Actually, that's it. That's all that draws you out of that. So, yeah, you could actually run this with 22 lands. I'm considering it. So the next up is Kefnet's Last Word. You guys know what this does at this point. This card is so good. The drawback is like devastating, but I mean, it's almost Pact of Negation bad, but not quite. You gain control of target artifact, creature, or enchantment forever. And then lands you control don't untap during your next untap step. So just straight up, lands do not untap. Whether you use them to spend it on this spell, or if you tap them first then cast this, it's just nothing untaps. If it's a land, don't untap it. So you basically lose your entire next turn. But if you gain control of their biggest creature, it doesn't really matter because they're not going to come back from it. So, and you can steal their... I don't know, like a combo piece. I was trying to think of an exact like enchantment. I don't know. Revel in Riches, maybe, I guess, if you want to take that. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, you just grab their biggest creature and then they can't swing and then whatever. And half the time, I mean, you got all this like ramp out here. You know, you got your Weavers and your Channelers. You still have mana available, and you probably didn't cast or you didn't tap every single land. So yeah, you've got options. I mean, this is the most appropriate deck to put this in. And between this and Entrancing, there being 8, it's just absurd. Like, just as soon as they finally get something out that they think they can swing with against your giant army of obnoxious mana rampers, you take it. And then they hit concede. So then we got Majestic. This is like my favorite card in Standard right now. I mean, at this point, I think this is the 3rd deck I've put it in. Actually, yeah. Oh my God, it is. Anyway, its power and toughness are equal to twice the number of creatures you control, including itself. So bare minimum, it's a 2/2. And then it's the same as Odric. During combat only, on both turns, by the way, both people's turns. If you have a creature with flying, this gains flying. If you have a creature with first strike, it gains first strike. Same with basically every major keyword, every evergreen keyword just about. So double strike, death touch, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, which is hilarious, menace, reach, trample, and vigilance. So I usually use Entrancing to steal a vampire token for 2, and then this has lifelink and I swing for like 10 and then just gain 10, and then I could care less if they block it. Then we got, even worse, River's Rebuke, the most devastating card next to Settle the Wreckage. I mean, they're both asymmetric. That one's just cheaper, I guess. But yeah, return all non-land permanents target player controls to their hand. That's you put this on the stack and they just hit concede. I mean, that's I don't need to tell you why removing every single permanent they own might be a problem. Non-land, by the way. But yeah, their enchantments go, their auras go, equipment, artifacts, creatures, everything. All the counters fly off. Every flip card unflips. It's just done. It is over for them. And then we got Tishana. Let me just say this right now. Don't put Tishana in the deck. Put in a 4th Majestic. This is just here because I think it's funny. So she costs 7, which means she's out of the range of Nissa's free casting a huge amount of the time. And Rashmi's ability. So she's like a liability. But her power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in your hand, so it's low. And then you have no maximum hand size. That's cool. Because when she enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control. So do you need a million cards, like 7 cards if you have 7 creatures on the battlefield? No, you're going to win. I mean, obviously. Unless you're at a stalemate and you need to go get a River's Rebuke, I guess. I just think it's funny because then you're holding like 10 cards. She's a 10-10 and whatever. But a Myriarch would be cheaper, faster, more reliable, and a better overall option. I just really like Tishana. Also, I'm going to be perfectly straight with you. I have a foil one. So that's the logic I use when I build a deck. Yeah, don't follow my example. So then we got the sideboard here. If they got a whole buttload of flyers, Siren Lookout is obvious. It's a flying explorer. Just take out Merfolk Branchwalker. Simple as that. I mean, you're going to slow yourself down a hair, but whatever. And then you might get a 2/3 flyer. Or a chump block or whatever. And then honestly, it kind of works with Majestic too. So, and then the other one that I would put in is Heaven because it's basically, what is that spell? Windstorm. I mean, it is Windstorm. So yeah, deal X to each creature with flying. Yeah. And you have, I believe by default, 0. So yeah, you're only going to hit them. The cool thing is you could probably generate 2 red for Earth if you really needed. Like, you would really wreck your own board state, but if they've got 64 cat tokens out, I mean, sorry, but the cats are going to have their paws burned by lava. That was dark. So yeah, Earth deals X damage to each creature without flying. So, I mean, I can't imagine when you would use that in the same match. That would be so weird. But if you absolutely needed to, here's the trick with Heaven in case you haven't figured it out. You cast it for 0 and deal 0 damage to each creature with flying. So you just pay 1 green and then you scorch the Earth. And you could even do it the same turn, obviously. So you could cast Earth after that for like a lot, like 5, and then just wipe everything and start over. So that's kind of nice. So if they're playing like Token Flood, you could put this in anyway, even though they don't have flyers. And the other ones are obvious: Disallow, Negate. If they're playing like a combo deck, just put these in. I'm not sure what you'd really pull. Maybe just some of the top end. I guess if it's like a really spell-heavy combo deck, I would do River's Rebuke, because it's too slow to go up against a combo deck. And they're not going to have a bunch of creatures. Like, it won't be that devastating. So I'll just pull 4 Rivers, put in 4 Disallows, and then Negate maybe in the place of maybe like Nissa, because she, like I said, she's not important to the deck. So Tishana, pull her, put in Majestic, obviously. These put in the dirt cheap, like 10 to 25 cent crap lands, no big deal. And then Nissa, I'm not really sure. I mean, I guess I would put in like another Rashmi, another Emperors, and maybe 2 Sirens mainboarded or something like that. Or those 2 Elemental Walkers where every time you explore they get bigger, but there's like 2 Explorer creatures in here, so yeah, one of them's repetitive. Oh boy. But other than that, yeah, I mean, that's how you build the deck for dirt cheap. So if you want to see some gameplay, and trust me, you do, because this is just outrageous. I already have a game recorded against a human on X-Mage. It was a really good match, very representative of how this works, and it's only 8.5 minutes. Another one that the X-Mage controls just broke after 21 minutes, basically. I had to do a rollback because it started showing me targets that were valid that weren't for a spell, and then it like all went to crap, and then we tried to roll it back, and then he permanently lost priority, which is kind of funny. So then I wailed on F9 and just took like 8 turns in a row, and he thought that was hilarious. But I would have won anyway, but it was a really good match because it was almost a mirror match, but my deck's way better. So yeah, you just gotta see me just like steal everything this guy needed to win, and then he just hits concede. I hate to spoil the ending, but it's a really funny match. If you're gonna watch any gameplay, watch that. Otherwise, I'll just do like 4 games against the AI back to back and just show you that, so you can just see how these cards work together. So that said, I will see you guys next video.